Welcome to the Inspired Children Parenting Program with Dr. Rosina McAlpine, making a difference to parents and children around the world. Hello, I'm Dr. Rosina McAlpine and welcome back to another episode of Interviews with Experts. Today I'm very lucky to have Professor Edward DeRoche. He's the director of the Character Development Center at the University of San Diego, and I've been lucky enough to be working with him over the last few months. If you're a parent and you're worried about your child's character and their development, then stay tuned because you're going to find out a lot today about improving your child's character development. Hello, Ed. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, let's start with this whole idea of what is character development. A lot of people think you either have a good character or you've got a bad character. Is that true? Is that what character development is?
Well, it's part, because you're going to have one or the other, but it's the choice one makes to either go one way or the other way. And that's part of what character is, and that's what we'll talk about in the next few minutes.
Excellent. So character isn't something that's like an innate personality trait, but can be learned. Is that right?
Yes. One of the ways I explain it to parents is the use of the word character itself.
Okay.
So within the word character, we have the word act. And the synonym for the way people act is behavior. That's the focus. So when parents say to me, I don't understand what character means, I say to them, well, do you understand the way your child behaves? If we're talking behavior, we're talking character.
Excellent. Okay. So what are the aspects of character that can be developed? So the ways in which they're behaving. So what can we talk about when we talk about development of character?
One way to look at it, an easy way, a mnemonic for the parents is to take the word character and break it down and say, what do the letters mean in character that relate to one's behavior? So let's take the two C's. Okay. So the way one behaves is based on choice. If you make good choices, you get positive consequences. If you make bad choices, you get negative consequences. And sometimes those who make bad choices need second chances.
Oh, I love that. So character development is all about giving opportunities or chances to make good choices.
Right.
And so parents are really there to observe and to support children as the opportunities arrive, to give them a good opportunity to learn about, well, what would be a good choice.
Right. Remember, it's not innate. You only learn to make choices by being taught by someone. That someone, at least initially, is a parent.
Oh, awesome. So we need to think about character development in the same way that we think about learning to read or write.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. So what other aspects of character are there?
Well, we could look at a couple of the other words, letters. Let's take respect and responsibility. I don't know of a parent who doesn't want their child to be respectful and to be responsible.
No, I completely agree with you. And how can parents support their children to be respectful or responsible? What are some of the things that you, for example, have seen parents do or would advocate?
The first thing to do is to try to talk to your child about what does respect mean, and then go out and observe it. You know, more importantly, is to model it in the home. If I'm modeling, or if you're modeling for our children what it means to be respectful and what it means to be responsible, then we're doing something about behavior, both on our parts as parents and on their parts as children.
That makes a lot of sense. I know at the moment one of the things that I'm working with our son, he's only 6, and that's that whole idea of being respectful when someone new comes into our home. And I really want him to, you know, shake hands and be respectful and say, hello, give his name and introduce himself. And it's only through, seeing us do that that I think he's realising that that is an important part of connecting and communicating with people.
There's a good point. Where does one learn manners? Mm-hmm. Because you just described it very well. That's part of one's character. Mm-hmm. You have manners that promote respect, promote responsibility. You have manners that promote empathy for other people. So, yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
So I love all these words, and I think every parent would want their child to be respectful, responsible, empathetic. And I can see how in our home that if we're that way with each other, that's something that will, perhaps be seen by Cameron. But more importantly, we have to talk about it too, don't we? It's not just modelling, is it? Is it a discussion as well at home?
Yeah, conversation. Yeah, conversation with consequences, tough love at times. It's just the point. One of the points, and I've described it many times with parents. If the word character is throwing you off.
Okay.
And there's another alternative.
Okay, what would that be?
Social and emotional learning.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that. What do you mean?
Where do the children learn to be social, to have social skills? Remember, this is not stuff that we're going to just discover. It's stuff that they learn very early on, incidentally.
I really like that you said that, because one of the things that, we can teach our children to say please and thank you and to be polite.
Right.
And I really believe that takes you a long way in life. And
right.
I talked to Cameron about that, how important it is to be thankful and respectful. And I have to tell you, he reminds me, if I've said, oh, thank you, or if he said to me, thank you, Mummy, and I haven't said, you're welcome, he says, I said thank you, Mummy,
yes,
to remind
right.
to remind me to say, you're welcome.
So he's picking up on your conversation with him about what to do and then the response to what was done. Yeah. That's a good point.
So that's a lot of fun for us,
right.
so we see that. And in terms of character development in the home, I think that open conversation is important, especially with social and emotional, because it's so complex. Like, even as an adult, I have to say to you, I don't read it right all the time when I'm talking to someone.
Right.
So how would you recommend parents help their children observe, or what instances can they use in the world to help them observe and hone those social skills?
Sit down and watch television.
Okay.
With the kids, because there's a variety of behaviors, character behaviors that are both positive and negative. And sometimes that's a learning experiment, and they have to be tested on it. We had a discussion the other day about a certain program that I won't mention, but the question was, would you behave that way in that situation? And they created an interesting conversation.
I love that. I was talking to, because my son's 6 years old, I have a lot of friends who have children who are a lot older, and I was talking to one of my friends, and she said that now her son is a teenager. She's been watching some shows like Friends and other shows like that with him every night and having conversations exactly as you said, particularly around sex and sexual promiscuity and all sorts of things like that. And she said, in watching the TV show together really does give those opportunities for talking about those topics that are not so easy to talk about without context.
Yes. Well, Friends, we'll have to bring you up to date on that, because that's a rerun program.
It definitely is.
Yeah. But the current Friends, in a sense, that most of the kids I'm dealing with talk about. There are several. I'll just mention one because I happen to like it. This is the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So they cover a range of character-related concerns.
They do.
So
that's a great one to talk about. Excellent.
But let's stay with social and emotional a little bit, because there's some interesting information I think we ought to have.
Yep.
And let me read a couple of things. First of all, we know that Daniel Goleman,
Yes.
okay, emotional intelligence. Well, he raised the concern this is 1995, and if you permit me, I'll just read a statement. He says that the EQ, the emotional quotient of American children, is deteriorating at an alarming rate, and the decrease is true both for impoverished and privileged children. What do you think about that?
Well, certainly we certainly don't want that to happen in our society. Right. We want our children to be happy, healthy, and function very well. And emotional intelligence is a key part of that functioning. So I certainly agree that if that is the case, then we need to be doing something about it.
Yep. And that's the question of why and who. So why should we have character education in the schools? And who's going to do it? Right?
Great questions.
Yeah, so the why is relatively easy, actually. If you look at it, first of all, at least in American schools, so we'll stay with the United States for a moment, it's been historical that part of the training of children since this country was founded was morally, educationally related. People don't like the word morals, just substitute teaching the kids to know the difference and well, first of all, to know the difference between right and wrong.
Yes.
And to do right. Okay? So that's one aspect of this whole thing. The other interesting aspect of it for character ed is that it's character ed is required in the education codes of 40 states in the United States. People don't know that. I've been around to schools in this state since we started the program in 1995, and teachers continually are surprised that California has a code that mandates the teaching of character development.
So if parents ask their children about character development, they should be able to hear what they're doing at school. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. I'll give you a great, I think a good story that illustrates this. I'm giving this workshop for teachers in Northern California, okay? It's a high school. It's on a Saturday. There's teachers there, there's administrators there are principals there, and there are some parents there. So we're having this conversation, and I get a hand, and I call on the hand, and the gentleman says, I don't think we should do this. I don't think we should be teaching our kids character. This comes out of a conversation that we had about 30 minutes earlier for the high school. What values would you want this high school to teach kids? So he says to me, he says, I'm an engineer. So that tells you a little bit about where we are in where I was in California. And he says, I don't think that the school, the teachers, should be teaching my kids values. Okay, now we're talking values like respect, responsibility, honesty, trust, empathy, you name the virtues, okay?
Sure.
And so, and I respected that from him. But I said, we have a policy in your school district, which I happened to read the night before, that parents can sign off if they don't want their children in the sex education classes, okay? Not uncommon. So I said, you can get a form, and you can tell a school that you don't want your kids to be exposed to the teachers, the school culture, and their peers if they're going to be involved with empathy, responsibility, respect, and so forth. Well, he said, I can't do that. I said, of course not, because it's a value that you cherish at home. Same value you should be cherishing at school. You need more than one person or one, say, subculture teaching the kids values. Because they're in three subcultures. They're in the home,
Yes.
they're in the community, and they're in their peer group. And I'd add a fourth now. They're in the entertainment business. They're in the media.
Yeah.
You see?
They
Does that make
absolutely
sense?
are. It makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
okay.
And I think what the key points that I'd like to summarize here are that if our children cannot not learn character, they cannot not. They will either be developing empathy or not empathy. They will either be honest or dishonest or acting in that way.
Right.
So we know that they will be learning something. And the most important thing is that we want them to learn values that are going to really support them in life, that are going to help them be happy, healthy, and commune with others and be successful. And we know that all of those characteristics that you've talked about, the ability to communicate with others, to deal with one's emotions, to understand and deal with another's emotions, to be honest and trustworthy and responsible, are all characteristics that are going to really lead them to a wonderful life. And what we know from the literature of all the research that we've done is while IQ obviously is helpful and important in life, it actually isn't the biggest determining factor of success.
Right.
Some of the factors include things like resilience and grit, like being able to get through those tough times.
Right.
How do you suggest that parents could really support their children to develop, life's tough. It does have, things go up and down. And a lot of kids are suffering depression, anxiety.
Yep.
How do we really help our children develop those positive character traits that are really going to help them through life?
Well, if we're talking the difficult part of what you described, the depression, the suicide, tendency for suicide, you got to get professional help. A parent can't do it. But if you're talking the normal ups and downs of child's life, of a teenage life, 3 ways: conversation, listening, and action.
Excellent. So one of the things that we do every night at home is at dinner we have our 3 highlights for the day. Each one of us has to come up with highlights. And we can also bring to the table what's troubling us and have conversations. Is that the sort of thing that you're talking about?
That's the sort of thing you can do in your home. It wouldn't work in mine because I've got 6 kids, all on different schedules, and if we can get them at the table for a conversation, we're either lucky or we wish they weren't around anyway. But no, the key thing is the kids these days, particularly the teenagers, it's amazing to me, the academic pressure, the peer pressure, the pressure to participate in extracurricular events at school. I mean, 6, 7, 8 hours at school, run home, gulp something down, go upstairs, and do 2, 3, 4 hours of homework. It's amazing. So the parent has to be there to modify it, to let them feel more comfortable. It's like have a haven that you can go to.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So one of the things that I talk about with parents that have said the same thing to me, that their schedules are busy and their children's schedules are busy. And what I've talked about is not having necessarily a lot of time, but really quality time.
Perfect. Yep.
And so you might have what you call either the daily or the every second or third daily check-in.
Yeah.
And you're just checking in. How are things going? Is there anything particular that, or I'm guessing also parents need to just monitor, watch their children and see what's happening.
Monitoring is very important. And you don't have to, if you have several teenage children, you don't have to bring them all together at once. There can be a lot of one-on-one quality time. And they get together themselves anyway, but the one-on-one quality time with a parent can be very, very valuable. I would do that. The other thing I would do, the one thing I would certainly do based on the American Psychological Association studies is I would limit first of all, I would not allow in our house a television in the bedroom.
Right.
It's just too much for a variety of reasons. One of which is right now the research shows it contributes to obesity.
Yes.
I mean, that's You know, so TV time, no TV in the bedroom, monitoring television as much as you can, and the amount of time given to it, because they have so much. They're always on other types of media.
Yes.
You know, we sat in a restaurant the other night and looked around, and there were at least 4 tables where people were sitting with one another. And I'm talking about teenagers and adults.
Yes.
On cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, one restaurant I heard about has banned cell phones to get served. So it's the monitoring, I think, that's very, very, very important.
And definitely that would be an aspect of character, wouldn't it? Because when you're with someone, you want to interact with them, and that's why you're there.
Right,
so you're
right.
connecting and interacting, and I'm guessing that that's a key part of character development.
Right.
Knowing.
Use the synonym, I think, is a good. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're in a relationship and I'm sitting down having dinner with you, and I'm on my cell phone, what does that say about the relationship?
Yes.
I mean, it's a trite example in the long run, but there are a lot of skills that go with being in a good, positive relationship with people.
This has been so helpful. I know that the parents are going to be so happy to have had the opportunity to hear all these examples. I'd just like to summarise a little bit what I've heard, and just to see whether or not there is anything else that you'd really like to add. So far I've heard that character development really does take effort. You need to put the effort in, and the more effort you put in, the better your child will know how to be empathetic, how to communicate with others. And modelling is wonderful, but it may not be enough, because they're getting modelling from a lot of different places.
Exactly.
They might get it from TV, they might get it at school, they might get it from their peers. So really having focused conversations around what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable is important as well. Are there any other things that, and I loved your idea about watching TV shows with them, especially current ones like, for example, The Big Bang Theory. I'm sure adults and children alike would enjoy that.
Right.
But that you get to see social issues and situations that you can really talk to and help your child develop their understanding of. Are there any other things that you'd like to share before we wrap up for today?
I think one of the toughest ones that I get in our correspondence, both on emails and conversations with parents, they have a tough time. We all have a tough time with what I'll call tough love. Okay? The punishment angle is very difficult for parents. It's not a natural thing you want to do. You don't want to punish your children. But there are consequences to choices. Okay? So if one of my kids has taken the car with permission, loads the car up with teenagers, and then is going 80 miles an hour down the freeway, there's potential for some very serious consequences. I mean, we don't make it up. You just open the paper and you can see it. Helping the kids think through choices. If I do this, what are the potential consequences? Now, all choices are not negative consequences.
Sure.
You know, if I do this, if I'm working downtown helping distribute food for the poor, the consequence is an internal reward for the most part.
Yes.
So I don't think parents should think of the choices that their kids are making always leads to negative consequences. But when it does, the parent, just like the school, just like the teacher, has to take some kind of action.
I really like that you said that. One of the situations that happened to us at home not that long ago was I got called into the classroom, as every parent doesn't like to hear. And it was because Cameron was throwing dirt in the playground. Sure. And when he got home, I asked him a simple question and just said, "Were you throwing dirt?" Because I like him to tell me that he was himself. And he said, "Yes, he was." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because his friend was doing it." I will not mention who that is.
Right.
And I said, what are the consequences of throwing dirt? And he realised that it could get into someone's eye and it could really hurt them. And I said, did you know the right thing to do? He said, yes, I did. And I said, so why did you do it? He said, it looked like fun. And I was following my friend. And I said, and this is one of those times when Mum says, if you know what's right, you need to be a leader and not a follower.
Right.
Because if you're a leader, you show this other boy the right thing to do, and then nobody gets hurt. And I think that's the sort of little examples, I think all of the way that we can take these opportunities that present themselves to really show our children what would be the consequences of doing the wrong thing, someone might get hurt, and what will be the consequences of doing the right thing, and where they should be a leader and where they should not be a follower.
Right. And that's what the home is for the parent to show the child the positive things that they can do to get rewards. And I don't mean stars and all this stuff, a verbal reward.
Yeah.
But then at the same time to say, look, you didn't do this right. I'm going to give you a second chance on getting it right. So chances are necessary in life for all of us. And the parents should provide that, I think, don't you?
That's so true. I certainly do. I don't get everything right first time. I can say that for sure.
Right.
I can't thank you enough for being here today. I think that the parents are so lucky to have all the wonderful insights that you've given us. So thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
And I hope you'll all be back next episode where you'll learn more about how to support your children lead a happy, healthy, and wonderful life. Thank you.